And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. The Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, well, stuff to be talked about and beers to be selected, and you get to help. Aren't you special? Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, pretty much everywhere under that name, Shujin. Hi, it's cold. We warned you about this last week. It's cold. We told you. But we'll kind of deal with that momentarily. Let me go ahead and get you up to speed with everybody. From Midwest to the U.S., Brigid, good evening.
Good evening.
It's cold. We talked about that.
It's very, very cold.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to get weather. I'm not sure if we're supposed to get ice or snow or some mixture of both. It just depends on whether you're looking at the European models or the U.S. models. Who knows?
You'll be getting everything.
Well, if you're European on the U.S. models, it's going to freeze into ice.
Well, I mean, Paducah is saying that it might be some ice or some mixture, but the European models are showing like a shit ton of snow, so who knows?
Yeah, instead of icicles, it'll be pissicles.
Yeah, it could be.
Speaking of that voice, just outside of...
Oh, you mean the useless building?
Yeah.
The useless place.
Yes, UnrenownedTech. Hi.
Yeah. It's nice to know that the Viper Pit is still full of snakes. Mm-hmm. Guess the swamp never got drained, huh?
Nope.
No. Just another promise not kept by the previous tenant.
Imagine that.
Yep. Happy Valentine's Day.
And over the water into Paris, France, Joseph, good morning.
Good morning.
So, yeah, happy Valentine's Day, happy Jack Benny birthday. He would have been 39 years old today. Unfortunately, he stepped out.
Over in his grave.
Well, any opportunity to squeeze Mary one more time, I suppose. But that's all.
Good way to twist it.
Well, I mean, considering what he did, I'm gonna kind of use that in my opening in a moment. So I did grab up my collection. I wasn't sure if Dalan was going to be here tonight because I am specifically holding on to one of the beers, the jalapeno cream ale. Yeah, I'm holding on to that one until Dalan's on because I don't want to try that one without him because we had a very good laugh about me picking that one out. So I got my collection over here. So after last week of trying Dos Equis Amber, which was pretty good, I have to say. So here are our selections for this week. You guys can help me out on this. Cronenberg 1664 Blanc in a glass. Ow.
That's
hurt.
French.
Yes, it is. Let's see. Pils Mafia, which is a take on the Bills Mafia here in Buffalo, which is a long running thing. The Open Gate Brewery Guinness Baltimore Blonde, also in a glass. Just take my word on it because I don't want to hit it with my finger again because that hurt. And last one in the collection over here, if I can, there we go, is the Left Hand Brewing Bittersweet Imperial Coffee Milk Stout. So I don't know what we're going to be trying.
If you want to go for disappointment, go for that one. It's beer that's got coffee and milk in it. Yeah, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, but see, I've tried at least one that I found out that I actually liked, and I forgot which one it was because I didn't write it down. I don't write these down. I'm stupid. But we'll figure it out.
See, what you do is you don't have to write them down. The one that you like, take the can and put it on a shelf. Rinse it out first so it doesn't attract bugs.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I should keep that in mind.
Yeah, something easy. I mean, you got shelf space behind your head.
You know, some of the stuff I've got there...
I try to do easy solutions.
No, that's okay. Some of the stuff that I've got back there, by the way, are a large collection of audio cassette tapes
I have
because
a large collection of stuff that I'm going to be throwing out.
yeah, it's stuff from when I was on actual FM radio for a while. It's college radio, but whatever.
Doesn't matter. It's still neat bit of history.
I just spent yesterday cleaning out my basement, and I've got a whole shitload of audio cassettes and floppy disks.
Erase them.
Does anybody
You
have a
don't
zip
want them
drive
coming back to haunt you.
or an optical drive?
Well, I've got a floppy drive over here. I've also got an Atapi optical drive, but I don't think that we really need to have anything shipped over from your side over to here. But
Cool.
we'll keep that in mind.
All right.
Anyway, so since I obviously forgot to say hi to the nice folks over there on the live chat.
You mean folk?
Yeah, because right now it's only Stephanie over there. Hi. I hope you're okay, because it's warmer over there than it is over here. I can almost guarantee that, because we would have heard otherwise. It's
Well, actually, Stephanie's colder than I am.
okay.
By 4 degrees.
Okay, well, it's cold.
It's -6 here in Paris.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's dropped.
Hey, I dare you to lick the Eiffel Tower.
They
The top or the bottom?
Start at the bottom, work your way up.
So
I
it's
don't-
-6 there in Celsius.
Yep.
It's -9 here.
Yeah. Well, it's rare that it gets that cold here.
yeah,
So
that doesn't totally surprise me.
it's the North Pole coming south to see what the fuck everybody's doing. Sending
Oh,
their-
I had a temperature flux. It's now no longer -2. It's -1C.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, see? Things are looking up.
And here's a little something for everybody to remember. If you go to lick the Eiffel Tower, if you start from the top, you'll stay nice and warm because of all the radio transmitting equipment up there. Keep that in mind.
And he knows.
Yes. And folks, if there's one tip I can give you from my old ham radio days, RF burns don't heal.
Ooh.
They don't.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine when I was still learning. He ended up getting an RF burn on his thumb near his palm. Somebody accidentally energized a cable that he was pulling to connect to an antenna, and it caught him. And he showed it to me, and then he told me, "Yeah, this was done about 35 years ago."
Ooh, sounds delightful.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't play with energized coax. It's a bad day.
Noted. Thank you.
So keep that in mind. I will figure out what I'm going to drink momentarily. For the most part, though, we'll guess it from here. So while we've got the time, how about I just get everything rolling over here? So with 5 minutes on the clock, let me go ahead and get you your 5-minute freestyle, which starts right now. Love. I've talked about love in some capacity or other many a time. And there are many different types of love. I've also talked about that. There's romantic love, there's platonic love, there's a lot of different ways that you can show it. And there's a lot of different ways that it can be expressed to people, to individuals. Now, I know full well that for a lot of folks, Valentine's Day is troubling because maybe they're not with the person that they would like to be with. There's some that, like myself, just There's no choice in the matter. It's just bad roll of the dice. And it's tough. And I know it. I've seen it. I've talked to people. And, every once in a while, you hear the whole, well, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved before. And, I don't know. There's no way of doing a control experiment on that. Am I grateful for the love that I've had? Yeah. I personally could have done without all the drama after the fact, personally speaking. But I mentioned about Jack Benny, and I talk about him every once in a while. Jack was a radio comedian. He was on during the golden age of live radio. He did vaudeville. He had a couple of movie appearances, TV show. And he was much beloved by many people. The only person that could ever really break him every time was George Burns. After Jack died in the early 70s from pancreatic cancer, it turns out that one of the movie roles that Jack was going to do before he found out that he had pancreatic cancer was from a movie that he suggested George take over for him. And it turned out that it jumpstarted George's career all over again for a while. But after Jack Benny died, his wife, Mary Livingston, who played his girlfriend on the radio for quite a long time, she got a rose delivered to her house. No information that went along with it, just a rose was delivered. And then, as time goes on, she continued to get roses delivered. I forget what the frequency was, if it was every day or every week. And it took her months to finally try to figure out who it was that was doing the delivery. It was done somewhat clandestine, and I'm pretty sure most of us would be very much curious as to why we're suddenly getting a rose every day or every week with no note, no explanation. She finally figured out. She finally found out, and she finally asked. Jack had set aside the money and had set aside with a florist that upon his death, his wife would receive a rose. She would be reminded how much he loved her. In some ways, I live that kind of thing every day. We built this house together. We started our family together. And to this day, 16 almost years later, I still have my little piece of love for my wife. I sincerely hope that you're all able to have half the love that I've been lucky enough to have. This is episode 349 on the docket. Our job here, she is done. Nobody is talking about, or at least as far as I can tell, nobody is talking about arguments that show that God is real anymore. Now, I know full well that there are plenty of people out there. There are plenty of evangelicals. There are plenty of folks that are going to go ahead and spew left, right, up, and down, and God is real, and hear the reasons for it. You know what? You guys are fringe at this point. The news stories that make it on the scene are the ones where it's, well, let's tell you what these God believers have been doing to screw people over again. And that's where the majority of the news reports are now. You poor sods. So, we're going to kind of go through, and we're going to talk a little bit about the worst arguments that we've heard, the worst people that we've known because of these situations. And, you know, after all that is said and done, who in the hell knows? We'll find an exit strategy eventually. I did go looking up information on Rafe Badawi. We have no new information for him, unfortunately. So, as of the recording of tonight's show, it has now been 8 years, 7 months, 28 days since Rafe was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our hopes or thoughts are still with you and your family. We are still waiting. And before we go ahead and move along to the horrible scopes, by the way, I did see a comment that had come across one of the recent episodes of the show. The comment was subsequently removed, taken down. I'm not quite sure what happened with it, because I tried to get to, and I couldn't find it for some reason after the system told me that we had it. Which, in a paraphrasing, there are a lot of other people that are jailed in Saudi Arabia for similar reasons. I don't know who it was that wrote it, but your concern is noted. We're only a 2-hour show. We don't have nearly the amount of time to cover all the folks that are out there. We know that there's more than just Rafe. But Rafe's condition in particular resonated very specifically for me. And I'm not letting his situation very specifically go. We can only handle a couple of them at a time. And he's our guy. So, do we have a choice on beer, or should we just go with Tech's suggestion and I go with liquid disappointment?
Liquid disappointment.
Yeah. All things considered.
Well, I mean, Joseph, if he unmutes himself, can have an opinion.
About what?
Beer choice.
Should he drink Drano or not?
Well, let him decide for himself, dude.
Okay. Stephanie, you got an opinion? What do you think, Ajax or Drano?
You know,
The Ajax, you can snort it.
with the Ajax.
Sounds more badass too.
Ajax would have to go in my ass because that's Greek. I'm gonna go for the
You got your
bittersweet.
name off a bottle! I love Deadpool.
Yeah, that's
What
funny
was
enough.
Ajax known for? The Greek god.
That's a Greek god? Really?
Ooh.
Not to my
Hey.
knowledge.
Hey. This stuff is... Wow. This stuff is dark.
Ajax is a programming language. Oh, it is a Greek mythology. Ajax the Great. Ajax the Great is a Greek mythical hero, the son of King Telamon and whatever the hell her name is, and a half-brother to whatever his name is.
Yeah, I was wrong about
It's all Greek to it's all Greek to me.
Yeah.
He's portrayed as a towering figure and a warrior of great courage in Homer's Iliad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so oh, this one,
Dude, that's as dark as my soul.
okay. This one again is the Left Hand Brewing Company Bittersweet Imperial Coffee Milk Stout. From our hands to yours is a slogan on it. This one is saying it's 8.9% alcohol by volume, so this one's a little stronger than the previous ones. So
It's a good thing you're holding it in your left hand.
It's very, very, very dark.
right hand. Yeah,
No,
I can't.
no,
Wait a minute. Wait a
According
minute.
to you.
Wait a minute. Got a light. Because I'm holding this up.
Wow.
I can barely see that light. Yeah,
Yeah, this
That
is
is-
this is
that's like Guinness dark right there.
yes, it is. Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, remember, you got to drink it with your left hand, otherwise I got to call OSHA
Why?
because it's a left-handed beer brewing company, so they make it for left-handed people.
See, that would be fine, except that I saved my left hand so that I can do this.
For those of you listening at home who have still not learned to turn on the video, there's no hope for you. Or whatever.
Okay. Definitely there is beer, but there is a little bit of coffee to it, but it's very, very little.
It looks like a stout, is it? No, I mean the taste.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not I'm not so
I
sure
guess
about
the
this one.
bitter's pretty strong, isn't it?
It is. I'm not so sure that
I bet you would enjoy that with something like really sweet. Like if you enjoyed like cheesecake, for example, having that with a sweet piece of cheesecake, maybe.
no. Cheesecake I don't like.
No, but you get the idea, right?
I get
I
the
like
idea.
sweet desserts, and every once in a while, I have a bitter cup of coffee with a dessert.
I get you.
I'll just say that if ever one day I have some welding to do, I'll buy that beer so I can look at what I'm doing through the glass.
That is a good. Yeah, the next time that we have a solar eclipse, there's a dig I wasn't anticipating on making today, but sure, I'll do that.
Anybody else besides me remember the original Dig, dig.com, D-I-G-G, when it first started, before it sold out to all those companies and everything, and advertisers?
A little bit.
I miss those days.
Anyway, so
I'm reminiscing. I feel old. Leave me alone.
you are
Get off my lawn.
So, I think we might as well just go ahead get along with the horrible scopes and move on from there. So, if you all are ready to go ahead and have the stars talk to you, here's your big opportunity. So, as always, if you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't, make it up as you go along, because that's kind of the way that it works for all of us. Get you rolling. Aries. Burning bridges is a talent you seem to excel at. The fact that you can set fire to steel suspension bridges is a concern for national security. You can expect to be visited by 3 giant blue and purple robots the next time you do it. There's a comic book reference for stuff.
Oh, there you go, Joseph. Taurus. With the winter driving conditions in effect, here's a driving tip you should always remember and share often. The shortest distance between 2 points is bad brakes.
Yeah, Joey got that one last night, and he felt very targeted by that one. I really wasn't trying to...
Gemini. Just your luck. The world becomes your oyster, and you're allergic to shellfish. But really, who wants to eat oysters raw? Besides me. It's like putting a slug on a spoon and swallowing. You're better off just ignoring the world this week. And no, if you're putting it on a spoon and swallowing, you're doing it wrong, dude. You got to put it in the cup with the beer and the hot sauce.
It's still like a slug.
It's delicious.
It's like but slug.
And then Oysters Rockefeller is... Oh, God. Okay, Jess, your turn.
Yeah. Okay, Cancer Moonchild. Wake up and smell the coffee. Oh, good. I just made some. Unprogrammable coffee maker's great. If you don't live with the Mr. Coffee, call the police. The smell is coming from inside the house.
Have fun waking up to that one. Leo. Feel free to run in place like a child. If you try to run in place like a cartoon character, Toon Physics will have you either launch up into the ceiling or hover in place until you look down. It's better to be a kid.
Virgo. You claim to want honest criticism of your work. Then you want to commit harakiri on the floor when people say they don't like it. Your The problem is you don't understand the difference between harakiri and seppuku. Even then, your work is so sloppy, you probably couldn't do that right anyway.
Libra, we heard that there's an opening for you as a pit boss that you might like. Sorry, I kind of screwed up. We're not sure if it's for a casino or a Formula One racing team. Apply anyway and try your luck. Sorry, I got so excited.
It's all
Pit
good.
boss.
It's all good.
Do you know anybody who's a Libra who actually work as a pit boss for either one of those?
Joseph.
Oh God, always. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Scorpio. There is a massive difference between rechargeable llamas and capacitive alpacas. Study up on your electrical theory before you zap current across your nipples.
Remember, that's a bad day right there. Sagittarius. The great idea you have is a misdemeanor in 7 states. It sounds like it's time for you to move to New Jersey. Everything's legal in New Jersey. But don't take legal advice from Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Capricorn. Someone in your family will need your help this week. Be sympathetic. If they called on you, they're obviously in worse shape than they thought they were. If you help out the family now, they might be there when you need them later. Maybe.
I just want to say real quick, I found on Amazon rechargeable llama lights and capacitive alpaca wool gloves with capacitive touch tips. You're welcome. Capricorn. Someone in your family will need your help.
Next one.
Oh, Aquarius, sorry. This is the age. Quit poking at karma with sharp sticks or you'll wake up with a nasty hangover, 5 angry pregnant penguins, not it, and a cheese doodle ring around the bathtub. Again.
Joseph, you got one last.
Yep, just reaching for the mute button. Shouldn't have put it up so high. Okay. Pisces. No? Yes. Is that good, Pisces?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a piece of practical advice. The best way to clean towels is to first buy only white ones. Then you can use bleach on them whenever you need to without worry about the colors running.
And that is true. Ask any lady. She will tell you that that's true.
Unless you put a red towel under the lot.
And then you will die.
I really think we need to put at least the llama in the show notes because this thing is so cute.
I will put them in the show notes.
This thing is so adorable. It's got a built-in timer. It's dimmable.
And those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you enjoyed them, wonderful. If you didn't, you can bribe us next week. We've got a Patreon for that and everything.
Oh God, this is so. I was not prepared for this level of cuteness today.
It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, so like I was saying, you know, maybe it's the circles that I run in. Maybe it's the lack of view of everything else. Maybe it's maybe I just don't watch enough of the atheist experience from Austin. But, you know, I don't really hear stories about people who are coming up with stories about an existence of a god anymore.
Well, maybe that's a reflection on the circles you're gravitating in.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah,
But
because I still see. Oh, I keep pretty religiously up to date on whatever Matt Dalan is doing and his most recent debates. It's kind of hard to judge on the noise scale how much to the forefront the apologists and etc. are. But I think you're right that the confrontation, bah, I can't even talk.
Confluxion junction?
No, confrontationalism. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they're seeking out atheists. I think that's been toned down a bit.
Well, we definitely haven't been getting people giving us all kinds of shit, which is nice. Which also kind of goes along with the whole, yeah, how many people actually pay attention to us? Oh yeah, it's a pretty small group. I'm not saying that I don't want you people. I'm just saying that we have a very small, we have a very small viewership, and I know that, and I understand that, I respect that. And when all is said and done, truth be told, I don't care. I don't think of it in terms of, well, how many people should we have? We should have 10,000, but no, I don't. It's not a race. I don't care. I don't care about those numbers.
I mean, the last shit I think that we took was, I'm trying to recall, was one of the Easter shows. When I was at the American Atheist Convention or something, and we did a show during Easter.
Oh, yeah. And you got a whole bunch of people to kind of pop in for a little while.
Yeah. And then we had that dude in chat. I don't remember who it was, but you finally threw him out.
I don't really remember that, but...
the don't feed the trolls day.
Yeah, it could have been. But you know what? I don't really worry about it. It happens so infrequently.
That's the last one that I remember, though, that actually came in and gave you a bunch of grief, and you let him stay for a while, and then you finally like, okay, I'm being a dick, and you're gone. Poof.
Yeah. I don't...
Because you rarely do that.
Yeah. Because for the most part, I don't really get upset with these folks. Here's a little insight in the way that I deal with this kind of thing. Specifically, I don't get upset with these people because they think differently than I do. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people who refuse to acknowledge that there could be, maybe, possibly, another view that's just as valid or even more so. And the ones who are dicks about it, those are the ones that go bye-bye.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give folks an opportunity to, show me what you got. And, if you're going to behave, fine. If you're going to be a preschooler, hit the road, Jack. And I got no problem with that.
I just find it kind of disappointing that we only wound up on Nephilim Free's radar once.
Yeah, but that was funny.
It was. I felt internet famous there for a few seconds.
Oh, God. For anybody that's unfamiliar at this point with Nephilim Free, he is the one that was advocating for the, as we termed it, the lunar bukkake model of creationism. That all the water that came from the flood exited the earth, jetted into space, and splattered itself across the face of the moon, and the craters were impact points for whales and such. And that's where all that extra water went. So yes, according to him, the earth ejaculated all over the moon's face. Nice. And we had a good laugh at his expense, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And it was worth it.
It made me sad, actually.
Sad? Why sad?
Oh, God. in that kind of situation, I'd ask somebody like, why do you want to believe? Like, what does that belief do for you?
Well, I don't know about them, but the idea of ejaculating all over the moon's face is kind of hot to me. Then again, I've been kind of, without a mate for 15, 16 years. So, I mean, anything like that is going to be a little... This isn't about me. Shut up now.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Look,
anyway.
somebody wrote a book for skeptics. The genealogical Adam and Eve. There is no intrinsic contradiction between conventional evolutionary theory and belief in Adam and Eve as a couple specially created 6,000 years ago. Yeah, we've already visited that damn argument.
Yep.
Now you're writing a book trying to say it's different?
It's really funny because that's why probably the affront on atheists has died down, because it's really weird when the apologists, like, you watch a string of debates, for example, debates or whatever call-in shows. If you watch The Line, and then you go to Aaron Ra, his latest debate or whatever, it's funny that these arguments, they all seem to come out at the same time. There's there's in fashion arguments.
Yep.
And like all the evangelists or apologists or whatever, they're all using it at the same time, and they go shit, because they go talk between themselves, how we're gonna find out a new way to get them, and then they come up with the kind of gotcha, which is basically the same arguments as before, just repackaged in a different way, and it goes shit every shit. I'm using French. When you say that in French, it means it's like it just fizzles out.
Yeah, it's one bullshit story that just keeps evolving. They just put a new bow on it.
Yeah. But it just basically, what disturbs me most is that these people, it's coming from somewhere, all of this, but we're not sure where. Because these arguments, like, who comes up with, there's a few key evangelists probably who come up with something. I'd really be interested in following, these arguments back to the source, find out where all this crap is coming from.
That would be really interesting to try to track down.
But what's really most disturbing is, whatever the argument be, these people are basically, they've given up their self-governance to somebody else. It always comes down to that. I mean, it's somebody else telling them, oh, this is true, and these people are just repeating it without any reflection at all.
Yeah, they just swallow the story because they were told, hey, this is it, and hey, this sounds great. This sounds exactly right, and they don't even have the capacity to take apart the argument the same way that we would to find out, yeah, your argument's a non-starter because this first thing right here is just, we've already proven, scientifically speaking, that this is impossible. So your premise is that something impossible happened. Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but arguing with them is impossible because since they've given up, they've left all the work of actually thinking about shit to other people. You can present them with the reality. I'm sorry, your argument doesn't hold up to reality. If you try to apply that to reality, it just doesn't stand. But since these people have given up, deciding the quality of things for themselves, well, if they can't decide what's real or not, or good or bad or whatever in reality, if they can't make value judgments about reality, arguing with them it's pretty lost cause. I mean, from the get-go. which is why that whence my question. Okay, what's in it for you believing that? Why are you listening to this guy? What's he promising you in exchange? Because I mean, there has to be some sort of reason behind that. And
Yeah.
that's a sad thing because I mean, in the end, it's just an empty promise or a promise that's making people behave this way.
Yeah, it's funny that you go that angle, because one of the things that I had seen relatively recently was the MAGA coping video compilations that have been going around. People have been all kinds of upset because the change in presidency here in the United States, because lot of Christians were putting out there, God has told us that Donald J. Trump is his man and will be elected again to a second term in office. You can guarantee. Yeah. Funny about that, the fact that it didn't happen, and these people were speaking on the word of their God.
No, the guy.
Yep.
No,
Oh,
be careful there though, because I mean, yeah, that's down the route to distraction. Because whoever their chosen leader, whatever, message provider, messiah, whatever you want, prophet, it's coming from them.
yeah.
It's not as God says. Well, no, it's actually this guy says God says.
No. You're quite right. You're quite right. But I didn't finish there yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Now these are usually the same people who are saying that God talked to me and told me. Now here's where it gets all kinds of fun, because I can't give you chapter and verse, but I'm pretty sure, I'm about 85% sure, that there is a piece somewhere in the Bible that tells you someone who speaks as a prophet in my name, if they're wrong even once, they do not speak with my voice, and they are a liar. And I'm paraphrasing. So those people, you can probably well imagine, they're trying to do a whole bunch of double speak tap dancing to basically say, who was it? Locke, Pastor Greg Locke, who was so chicken shit he didn't even want to talk with Bobby and Susie, who promised that they were going to be nice to him. He went, hey, don't you laugh when Miss Susie says she's going to be nice. Okay, we can kind of flip a coin, but be that as it may, Pastor Greg Locke has already gone ahead and put out videos that said, look, all that stuff in the Bible that says if you're wrong once, you're not a prophet, that's wrong. This is what's actually going on, and I am still going to do the talking through with the voice of God myself. Self-delusion up the... Well, whatever. I love these people. And that was
Just snickering at the thought that he was afraid to even talk with them. I mean,
yeah.
And
wow.
how can you say, well, one way or the other? Well, actually, how are you going to tell if a prophet is wrong?
Well, let's start off with the easy way. Donald J. Trump is going to be elected to a second term in office. It's not going to be 2 separate terms. It's going to be back-to-back 4 years, a total of 8 years. Back-to-back. Those are the ones...
That's how we would we tell if he's being wrong or not. But I mean, his followers. Because apparently all it takes is so-called prophet. Well, they just have to declare that they were actually right after all, and they are. It's like, like in some debates with geez, I'm losing my words this morning, with some debates with some apologists. You know, they'll come out with a YouTube video. They'll be like completely destroyed during a debate. I don't like talking like that, but anyways, but because that part doesn't matter. But you know, they have every argument they come forward with overturned in a debate, and then they'll come out with a video after, telling their following how they won.
Yeah, about
See what I'm
that.
getting at?
No, I do. I do.
It's not over yet, though. I mean, there's one who is still saying that what was it, that she had seen a scroll, an actual scroll coming down from heaven, and that the demons were fleeing from DC and all this other stuff, and it's supposed to happen, I think, March 4th. So
Yeah.
we still have some time.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. My goddamned birthday. They want to go ahead and have another coup. Yeah. No. By the way, Brigid, look what I found. Would you be so kind to read to the class?
Sure. Which version would you like?
You know what? Roll the bones. I don't care.
Well, since the King James version happens to be the one,
Oh, of course.
when a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. But the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him.
That there is Deuteronomy 18:22, and it basically says exactly what I was talking about. If you've got somebody claims to be a prophet and they say something and they're saying it in my name and it don't happen, guess what? You can just kick their ass out.
Well, see, you're not reading that right. It's mistranslated. You got to read it in the original text language.
Yeah, I can't read it in Greek because it's all Greek to me. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry I even said it.
I don't speak Hebrew. No, thank you. I know a couple of people who can read it, but I'm not one of those people.
Oh, but you know, the thing actually happened. It's just our interpretation of time that's wrong. So I just, you know, we're just a bit, yeah, we're just a bit early.
Yeah. Stephanie's also pointing out the Huffington Post. Oh my God, such a has an article about the families of MAGA fanatics and their desperation over their fanaticism. You know,
See, this is like the gambler dilemma.
yeah.
They've invested so much that they just keep ignoring the fact that they continue to lose because they've got to win sometime. They have invested so much in Trump.
And this is again, what are they hoping to win?
Yeah, the one that you're thinking of.
Racism.
Yeah, the one that you're thinking of, by the way, if I remember correctly, is the sunk cost fallacy.
Or sunk cost fallacy. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Now I'm wondering if that's in the. I wonder if that's on the. I gotta double check if that's on the.
Well, that actually goes hand in hand with the gambler's dilemma, though.
Fallacy is.com.
Like, I mean, the goal for the, you know, what the prize, actually for their leadership, whoever their chosen leader, provider, whatever decision maker is, yeah, it's quite different. I mean, for the followers, it's I can't read minds. I tend to think that it's, you know, if you're a follower, you want things to, and you don't make any decisions for yourself. You want whatever your life, whatever the quality of your life is at the time of your decision. I think instinctively, they just want things to stay the same.
And I was thinking about the gambler's fallacy, and it's basically like, well, I didn't roll a 6 last time, but I'll roll a 6 this time because I haven't rolled too many 6s last time, so I'm bound to get a 6 this time. And that goes hand in hand with the sunk cost, where they've been investing all this time and energy, so that reinforces it. That's what I was mean by hand in hand. So you've got these people who have spent so much time and energy and money in Trump, and he's lost so many things over and over again, that now people are telling him, well, hey, look, he's going to come back in the next month or 2 or 3 months. He's going to come out from nowhere, and we're going to see that he was really running Biden in the background, and Biden's going to admit that the virus was a fake, there was a Democratic conspiracy, and that Biden stole the votes and all the other shit. And so they're betting on the next dice roll, and they're betting on the next dice roll because they got nothing else. They never gave themselves the ability to change. They took it away from themselves.
You know, it's even worse than that too, because so many of these people, and Stephanie, yeah, you know, Stephanie is mentioning, why can't we push that Trump is the Antichrist?
You'd have to believe in the Antichrist first.
But the believers do.
Yeah. And it could be argued that the, MAGA hat, with the,
Sign.
MAGA across the forehead could be the mark of the beast.
Nobody said the mark of the beast had to be a number.
No, they didn't.
Nope.
I mean, they said the number of a man, but having, MAGA across your forehead, would that not count?
Yep. But, and again, they're cognitive dissonance, because they believe in Trump. And they believe he's good. They refuse to go, oh, well, yeah, according to the concept of the Antichrist is going to be loved by all. And since we all love this guy, he's actually filling the role. No, that can't be right. Obama was the Antichrist because all the people that we hate believed in him. Therefore, he's the Antichrist.
And there's exactly the piece I was going for.
And like how we say, well, the thing with cognitive dissonance, unfortunately, it requires cognition.
And a willingness to even evaluate.
And you tack on top of all this the fact that people are experiencing pandemic fatigue, as a lot of people around this area are calling it. They're tired of staying indoors. They're tired of wearing masks. I mean, let me be honest. If I spend a day wearing a mask because I have to go into the office, I pay for it the next day. I don't usually start to feel symptoms of having worn the mask for 8+ hours until like the night of that day and into the morning, where I tend to feel a little fatigued, maybe a little headachy, a little less oxygen was introduced that day. Maybe my focus was a little off. Okay, I understand, but we have people who are brain surgeons who wear these things while operating on people's brains, and they do a good job. I can deal with a headache. Okay, we've got nurses and practitioners who are wearing these for a lot longer than 8 hours, who are saving lives. I can stand a little headache. There are people I know that are asthmatic, and they wear it. I can stand a little headache. Okay, and the people I hear complaining, they don't have any of this stuff. They don't get the headaches. They don't get that problem. Shut up, sit down, put your mask on. But, it's still a fatiguing thing, because it's not the normal that we're all accustomed to. And that normal, there's so many people who desire to go back to it. One of my family members is a realist. Understands that the normal that we had before the pandemic is gone. End of story. But they still catch themselves every once in a while going, I can't wait till things go back to normal. And then they go, oh, it'll never be normal again. And they say it out loud. They say it out loud to remind themselves that that desire is not realistic, so that they can move forward. But a lot of people aren't saying that to themselves. They aren't reminding themselves. They're just tired of it all. They want to go to a pub and have a beer. They want to go to their favorite restaurant, sit down, have a steak or pasta or whatever it is that they enjoy. They want to get together with their friends and just relax for a change. And I've tried to encourage them. I was like, look, why don't you get curbside delivery of, a pizza or some finger foods or something, and then go to your friend's house. You and some friends show up, and you all put some chairs out in the driveway. Put your masks on. Make sure the chairs are like, say, 8 or 10 feet apart. While you're eating, you got the masks off. Since you've got the masks off at that point, a little bit of conversation, a little bit of food, have your beer, clean up your own mess, of course. Don't do that to your friend, and spend an hour or two together. And then when you're all done, pack it all up, go home. You had a mini vacation with your friends. They don't want to do that. They want it the way it was. And you've got all these people investing in Trump because Trump has been for the last year, and his cronies are still doing it, telling them it'll be okay if you get us back. But sleepy boy won't do that. The Democratic do-nothings won't do that. They're going to keep you locked up in your house. They're going to do this. And fear, 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 fear. And they're all tired of it. And unfortunately, when you have somebody who is tired of these things, when they're fed up, when they're no longer listening to reason, you cannot reason with them.
Yep. I'm sorry for repeating myself again and again, but I mean, we really have to stop talking globally about everyone, because I mean, are you and I affected by the fear machine? The followers are.
I'm affected by the fear machine. I'm affected by the fear machine because those followers, right?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, it is fair to say that we are indirectly affected by it.
Yes, thank you.
And that is...
It's like secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
I may not be sucking on the cigarette, but if I'm in the room with a smoker, I'm still inhaling the smoke.
I really don't want to hear you saying the words, "if I'm sucking on" ever again on the show. Don't do that to me. My brain's running fast enough as it is. It's
Sometimes
annoying.
a cigar is just a cigar.
It is absolutely annoying that we do have to... see, here's the problem. Okay. Little insight into how a lot of this stuff works with us on the show. We know full well that we go down through bunny holes like crazy. We know that. And it's one of the reasons why I enjoy it, because, the bunch of us, because we've all got our different perspectives and the different things that we know about and have feelings about, I'm never quite sure where we're going to go, parading down through. But this is one of those moments where, for me, I have to go ahead and remind myself, yes, it's goddamn annoying that we have to be even peripherally influenced by the fear machine, but I have to stop myself and remind myself that is the cost of being part of any society. You have to deal with the ebb and flow of everything and everyone that's part of it, and do your best to steer what little piece that you've got in the right direction, and hopefully pull some people along with you as you're going along. And god damn, is that annoying.
This is gonna sound as condescending as hell.
Go for it.
Hey, it warned us, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like for them, the fear machines, people who are directly affected by the fear machine are just people who just, have no capacity or will to have a look at reality and make decisions for themselves. But they're directly affected. But our fear comes from the ease with which they're affected by this. And now for the condescending part. Like for somebody who's dabbling in AI, if that's taught me anything, it's just how fucking programmable humans can be.
Oh, sure.
And it's like watching, I'm on the sidelines, and it's like watching a drove of pre-programmed robots, and just knowing that one day, they could turn on you, they could become a danger, and they are a danger because whether softly or directly, like directly with the capital attack, or softly by their, complete denial of like even climate change, which allows all the polluting companies just to continue as they are without any fear of consequence at all. It's just the speed with which it happens. Because if you're going to ignore the reality that you're living in, and base your decisions on something completely opposite to what it really is, well, it's going to end up turning on us as a whole. If you're going to drive towards the edge of a cliff while pretending there's no cliff there, the consequences are pretty clear.
Anybody else ever play the video game Lemmings?
But the problem is that we're in the car with them.
Yeah.
I used to use the analogy of a train on tracks, and the tracks go over a cliff, and these idiots are shoveling more coal into the engine to make it speed up, and those who are trying to get off the train are being held back by those going, "What are you doing? We're picking up speed. It's a good thing," and we're not allowed to get off the train because they either have the same number or outnumber. Right now in the U.S., it's about equal. You can turn to any two people, and there's a good chance that one of the two of them is a Trumpster, a Trumplican, a regressive Trumplican.
I think this again, it's just going to sound condescending, but I spent most of my life in utter confusion, trying to communicate with people. They're trying to make you present a rational argument, and the answer is more than half the time it's that's not what this guy said. Even when you're presenting a demonstrable case, like when you're talking about concrete, something right in front of the person, the answer seems to be always a reference to somebody else. And okay, when the economy's booming, everyone's got money, this kind of thing's great. It's not great, but let's just say there's less consequence. But when in times like now, when the economy, like the 1% they pretty well stripped the economy, and plus we've got COVID on top of that. Attitudes tend to change. Things become more dire, and it's almost a panic mode that we have to deal with.
Depending on who you ask, it's not the 1%'s fault. They're doing everything they can to help out companies and businesses so that everybody else can have a good time. But those taxes, they need another corporate tax cut. Otherwise, you're going to end up not having a job anymore.
I completely missed your irony. Sorry.
It's.
I was like, what? Jesus, he's converted.
And so many of these things keep coming down to the same piece once you boil it all down. It's about keeping control. It's about who's got the power and how are you going to manipulate the system that's already in place, that's already itself been manipulated, in order to keep that power and that control from any and everybody else for your own damn self.
But again, it's just the the power is only over the credulous part of the population. I mean, what a siren song that you can tell somebody, anything and they'll believe you. I mean, this is what the Republicans have succumbed to. This is, it's not to everybody. I mean,
You're you're right. You're absolutely right. And the fact that you mentioned about it being the siren call. How many times have I specifically said, the Republican platform here in the United States is it is bolstered with, at its base, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's always about the boogeyman as the very first layer, and then build up from that in order to get their credulous individuals to do what it is that they want them to do.
Create the fear, and then create the disease, and then offer them the cure for the disease. But the disease was imaginary to begin with.
It always, and again, that's specific to the credulous. And I mean, this is why I'm going down every rabbit hole, and like, it always leads to the same place. I mean, we have to promote.
Oh, they voted.
Self-governance. We have to promote. Well, we have to, people. How much does it cost somebody to think? I mean,
it could cost them their entire livelihood.
Yeah, you don't.
It could.
No, he's right, because we've got the people who were in the clergy, and they believed it truthfully, honestly, with all of their heart. They weren't doing it because they were, in it to fleece the people. And they have, over time, found their way out. And the ones who are still atheists, who are still in the pulpits, when they get found out and when they leave, Tech's exactly right. There are people who are absolutely kicked out, blackballed in their communities, or even outside of it. You remember we've talked about people who are excommunicated from, well, not like the Catholics really go through the pomp and circumstance of that, really, but the ones who were disfellowed. Disfellowship.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have cases of 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds who are kicked out of their homes by their family because they don't believe the same thing. Because they thought for themselves. And
hold on. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't see where you're going with that argument. So things shouldn't change?
No, that's not it at all.
It's going to come with a price, I know, but all I'm trying to say is that in a world where people think for themselves, would this kind of shit that these people are saying, would that stand? Would these people be able to do what they're doing in a world where people would just, consider whatever they're saying and apply it to reality? I mean, just that simple.
If it was a matter of that, if it was a matter of that everyone did to the same extent, you're quite right. These kind of charlatans would not be able to get away with it. But
there would just be different charlatans at that point.
No, you're missing the point. Different charlatans. It's the charlatanism that I'm talking about.
Right, and I'm with you. I'm with you on this one. The problem is that the cost that you're talking about for actually doing the thought work is that it's work.
Yep.
And it requires an investment in actually trying to figure it out. And for some reason, there are people who are, I'm trying to find the right wording for it, uncomfortable with doing that at this point.
But it's simply because they're not used to it. And
Agreed.
it's a question of responsibility, because as soon as you start making decisions for yourself, suddenly your survival is your own problem. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And that seems to affect us. And again, making reference to Sam Harris. But I mean, I would like to see this looked at in neuroscience, because I mean, it's almost instinctive. It's at a, that's really what I think motivates a lot of our decisions. I mean, it's a question of responsibility. And again, I'm going to say again this phrase, survive by imitation. Well, are you going to decide for yourself what's good or bad, or are you going to just copy the next guy who looks pretty healthy or whatever? There's something really, really, really basic going on in the brain, and it's really visceral, and I'd really like to see that happen. I'd love to test my hypothesis, because unfortunately that's all it is for now.
Have you ever seen the television series Sliders, which is a science fiction show?
I have.
No.
Joseph?
No.
All right, so it's an old series, and what it was about was a group of people that utilized technology to basically cross-dimensional barriers to different versions of current reality. So the first episode, the guy slides, if you will, but jumps to another Earth where the green light on the traffic stop actually means stop, and the red light means go. So he almost causes a car accident the first time he tries to drive on that in that reality. And in one of the episodes, they jump to a world where high intelligence is in a person is the most valuable and respected trait, attribute, whatever you want to call it. But even in that world, the creators of the series showed how people can be duped, how people can be coerced, how the system can be where intelligent thought and rationalism can be corrupted and utilized to profit for crime, for money, for gains in power and authority and everything else. There's a part of the human condition that no matter how much rationality we put into stuff, no matter how much time and energy we put into figuring things out, that somebody who has less than benign things in mind can somehow, some way, shape, or form con people, twist something, convince people otherwise.
So
it happens.
Yeah, okay, it happens, but
because
with skepticism, there's less chance of it happening. Are you saying that there's an equal chance, whether people are intelligent or not, or people think or not, of like charlatanism happening?
I think the point of it is, if you make a smarter dupe, you end up with a smarter charlatan.
Well, yeah, but it goes both ways.
Agreed.
Only once.
And I'm with you. There is a certain point where I do believe that if there was a proper enough level of skepticism that is invested in people, they will not be taken for a ride. They will not be conned. They will not be coerced because they couldn't think something through.
Well, let's just say there's less chance of it happening.
Agreed. Agreed.
Just cover everything globally.
But wouldn't it be nice to be able to have a situation where it's, I don't know if this investment is really such a good idea. Let me ask somebody that actually knows about how this works. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, and well, even there, the process would be different between somebody thinking of themselves or not. Because I mean, how many times, like a believer, they'll say to their leader, whatever, oh, you promised me this and it didn't happen. Well, they're just gonna, for some strange reason, they just keep on hoping. It's what kind of like what Einstein said about insanity. It's like doing the same experiment again and again and hoping for a different result. That seems to be happening, and then probably the same thing will happen in investments. But I mean, if you actually consider, you've got the experiment of whatever the investment was, you've got the result, and you should know actually what the guy supposedly working for you did. If you don't have access for that to that information, where most followers don't have access to this information, by the way, then there's something wrong. There's yet another reason to leave. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, don't stop taking shit on faith. I guess that's it.
You're right. And if people didn't, then we wouldn't have had a whole bunch of people losing thousands and thousands of dollars because of a Nigerian prince.
But but you're right in saying that, from time to time you have to have faith. Like, for example, every time I go to my doctor, I'm going through some treatments. All I've got as a reference after the treatment is my own well-being, the level of my own well-being as a result. That's all I've got to judge, the aftermath, if you want.
Well, as was pointed out once before, that's not quite faith. That's reasoned trust.
Trust. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to use the terms interchangeably and not even realize that we've said it. Guilty. I've done it. I've done it more times than I care to count, and caught myself after the fact, sometimes too far after the fact.
Let's just, okay. The first time you go to the doctor, I'm gonna dive down into this for a second. But the first time you go to a doctor, well, doctor you don't know, maybe recommended to you by somebody. I would call that faith. But after you get the results, you have the material with which to judge for yourself. And if he's done a good job and you feel better, then it becomes trust. Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't necessarily agree entirely, because there are a number of other factors that go into it. As an example, a doctor who is, well, for one thing, if you know how long they've been in business, as it were, how long they've been practicing medicine, how many people, has there been any kind of complaint through, let's say, the Better Business Bureau for a second, just as opposed to disciplinary actions or anything like that.
No, you're right. You're right.
So there is a certain level of faith, and I'm using very wide quotation marks on this one. That
look at how worried we are about falling into this quote unquote apologist trap.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, see, we are the type of people who recognize that words mean things, that phrases, words, combinations of concepts have baggage, and if you don't use the right terms, you're going to drag along the wrong implication behind it all, and we don't want to do that in the first place. Secondly, we don't want to be taken for a ride, because that's a bad thing to have happen, because You lose money, you lose time, you lose health, you lose your credibility. I mean, there's so many different pieces about it. We
Yeah,
we
it's called-
concern about these things.
Yeah.
If people stop worrying about being butthurt and their self-perception of their whatever, fuck it all. If people were stop worrying about whether or not they made a mistake and instead learn from it, the world would be a better place. But nobody wants to acknowledge a mistake anymore. You can't be smart anymore. If you say the wrong word, damn the context of how you're using it. The fact that you said a word in period, you know, like if I go to a movie theater and I say, dude, I'm excited, this movie's the bomb, and it's like, you can't say bomb in a theater. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you? I didn't say there's a bomb, get out. That would have incited a riot. I said this movie is the bomb. We're not on an airplane. We're watching a movie. You know? So context matters. And yet, you know, we've got shit's nuts right now. On every side of the political spectrum, we've got everything going on. It's just I'm getting sick of humanity.
But again, you know, like who would be triggered by that kind of thing? Would you be triggered by that?
I am not afraid of somebody who is smarter than me. I'm grateful that there are people smarter than me. Because I know I'm not the smartest person around. But there are other people who, if you demonstrate that you're slightly smarter than they are, you now have, in their eyes, you are not credible, you are not a good person, you are making fun of them with everything that you open and say out of your mouth, and you're bad. And I'm not saying that whether or not this is happening on the left, the right, the conservatives, the liberals, the proactives, the inactives, whatever, it doesn't matter. Because it happens everywhere. Different forms of it, but it's happening. But people are afraid of, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, but again, we're only talking about one segment of a population, because if somebody next to you, let's turn the situation around. If somebody says to you, oh, this movie's the bomb, would you have that reaction?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
Because I understand the context in which it was used.
Yep. Context makes a big difference. And
right.
There's...
And I don't want to glue this only on the evangelists. I mean, there's people on the left who are doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Dude, like I said, it's not one side. It's every side. There could be atheists, Islam, people who study Islam, Muslims. There could be fundamental Christians. There could be Jews. There could be Buddhist monks. And you in there and you say, "Hey, this movie's the bomb," and they could all get offended because you said "bomb" in a theater. You know. So what I'm saying is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What's happening is humanity has got these groups, and now they're joining forces. Oh, I don't like the smart people because they tell me these things, and you don't like the smart people because they're telling you things that you don't like to hear. We should join forces and get rid of the smart people.
Well, indirectly, you're right there, because, I mean, we tend to divide the humanity between, well, the noise machine, anyways, likes to divide things between left and right.
And that's what happened with Trump. You had multiple groups get together.
Let him finish.
It's been happening since Reagan. But
yes.
how I divide humanity, the most crucial division, as far as I can see, is critical thought or not. That's it. Do you decide for yourself? Do you take responsibility for your own decisions? Or do you leave it all to somebody else? For me, that's where the dividing line is. And I mean, the consequences, if you're going to decide for somebody else what's best for them, yeah, well, that shouldn't happen. I mean, you know, basically, all the laws we have, what's good or bad for ourselves and each other should be a question of consensus. But consensus, unfortunately, takes some personal responsibility and a bit of work.
It takes
in the thought
investment.
process. Yeah, investment. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we didn't have consensus on slavery. That's why we had a war. We don't have a consensus on the pandemic. That's why it's still raging.
Well, you had one group who would decide for another group that they were less than nothing and that they should work for free. Whereas, it's what's really ironic is that at the time of all that, it was actually the Republicans who were against slavery.
Yeah.
I know that the irony is not missing me. And right now we have a group of people who think that, the pandemic's a fake. I don't care what you say. I don't care about the science. I don't care about any of that. So I'm going to ignore the stuff. And guess what? Unfortunately, when it comes to a pandemic, that'll get you killed. Not just you, but, the people around you. The people who disagree with you, who are trying to stay safe, can still get killed by somebody. So that's like going, hey, guess what? I don't think this gun is loaded. Can you hold still while I point this at you and pull the trigger?
Brigid,
Yeah.
You're very quiet.
no. This particular item is right up your alley. The stories of the people who are in hospitals, who are dying of this damn thing, and literally refuse to acknowledge it with their dying breaths.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a news story if it had been just one person. But it's not just one person, is it?
Well, in some areas, it's a bunch of people in, a particular town or locale. I mean, I guess it could happen at other places, but that's where I'm mostly seeing it from is, rural places in, smaller states with smaller hospitals, and the people are just in full denial. And there's a significant overlap between those people and governors of those states who do not believe in having mask mandates.
So, with that, I'm going to pitch something through to you that is not going to sound like it should connect. But I think it kind of does. And as someone who has some experience with brand new human life forms, you might appreciate this. The idea that the youngest ones will use terms like nerd, know-it-all, Poindexter, geek, and absolutely tear into the kids that show an aptitude, show an interest, who want to learn, who are being inspired by teachers, and put them down because they actually try. I wonder how much overlap there is between those people when they're kids and later in life where they refuse to believe what people smarter on a topic than them have got to say. Kind of see where I'm going on that?
Yeah.
Hey, look at what Georgia did. State health officials stole the vaccines because the clinic was giving vaccines to teachers. Sorry, let me rephrase my statement. They weren't giving the vaccine vials. They were giving the shots to them.
No. Real quickly.
We've definitely got a problem I'm not sure how it is in other countries. I wish I knew more, but we definitely have an issue in this country with being anti-intellectualism. Any kind of education is seen as being elitist. And especially with the advent, I mean, I know that it went back before then, because even when I was a kid going to school, people make fun of the eggheads, the nerds, the smart people.
The boys
It's,
who played violin because that's a girly thing.
yeah. So I mean, it's been a problem, for decades, but it really seems to have taken off with the advent of the Tea Party, and I guess around the time that Sarah Palin was chosen as a running mate. Yeah, Obama was too elitist, and education became a bad thing, and people took pride in the fact that they weren't educated. And I thought, how in the world did that ever become a thing to be proud of?
Well,
But they were.
yeah, but it's their laziness basically, because I mean, it's almost like a proudness. "Well, I don't have to work. Wow, why do I have to do that? I'm fine the way I am. I mean, yeah, everything's working for me."
Well, I mean, they
And
even
they
went back
see
and
anything different as a threat to that quote unquote state of confidence, I guess.
but even going back to evaluate, presidential speeches and things like that, most of the speeches, were on a fourth grade level.
Yeah, that's scary.
That is frightening.
Yeah, and the Republicans is, I'm sorry, but I mean, watching the Republicans how they behave, it's like going back to high school
Mm-hmm.
and just
Yeah.
seeing these fucking gangs, the popular guys, want to maintain their popularity over, whatever. It's like the behavior patterns are exactly the same of like any bully or whatever.
Yeah, they keep electing the kid to student council that keeps promising that they'll have 5 minutes between classes to change and not 4 anymore, which is an absolute impossibility, but it's the kind of thing that gets you over here. And by the way, Stephanie's pointed out that it's kind of the same thing in the UK, not in mainland Europe, which is why Europe is surging ahead. And she's also saying, Brigid, this kind of stuff dates back far further than Obama, and true that. I mean,
Reagan.
yeah, as a starting
That's
point.
where it all starts.
Well, no. It goes before that, but Reagan is definitely a good starting off point because so many things started to diverge from him, his policies, and what was being pushed through by the Republican Party at that point. I mean, it's arguable to say that a lot of this stuff started happening because of Nixon, and it just took a little bit of time to finally come up to speed. But that's something for another time when I don't have some of this beer in me. I don't like the way that I'm feeling from it.
What they started to preach was that living at other people's expense was actually a good thing, because after we talk about the 1950s, or a lot of people talk about the 1950s like the golden age or whatever, the mecca of Americanism. But this was a time when Americans were like unified. They had a sense of community, and at the same time, everybody had everybody in the neighborhood going to work at the same factory and all that. Yeah, there was a sense of unity there. But from that time onwards, from Nixon onwards, well, it was basically, well, if you can take whatever you can from the next guy, it's okay. And you can add to that all of these factory jobs that kind of created a sense of community. Well, they've all gone overseas. I don't know if you get an idea of the result, but
There's something to be said for that. It would be wrong on our part to not acknowledge that the societal unity of the post-World War II era, which is really what it comes down to, was definitely not shared by all, not by a long
No.
shot. But
It was a status quo.
yeah, but the idea that the country had an incredible surge post World War II for business, for manufacturing, for so many different pieces. Yes, and a good portion of that has to have been that if you want to do well for yourself, you need to learn. And that's your job while you're a student. And you know, a lot of other problems ended up coming up from, you know, in between the cracks of it all, because you know there's always going to be that clique that's going to have bully somebody else because they're whatever. But there was something to be said for, again, post World War II. There was a drive for knowledge, for industry, for getting into space. There was a common, well, I hate to say it, there was still a common boogeyman of the Soviet Union getting to space first. And we can't have that. So, you know, there's money available, there's drive available, but there's still a boogeyman yet again.
You ever notice how if humanity's not expanding, they're fighting? If they're not fighting, they're expanding, and there doesn't really seem to be a middle ground?
Who would want to fight for somebody else's shit? To take somebody else's shit? Would you want to do that?
You're asking the wrong person. You need to ask the people who are fighting to do exactly that.
Yeah, but that's why history is repeating. It's again this constant state of, you know, whatever.
There would be less wars if the people who started them had to fight them. There would still be war. Don't get me wrong, because there are plenty that are willing to lead from the front lines that want to start them. There's a lot that are starting them that sit in the background.
With less credulity, there wouldn't be an army. I mean, you know, Second World War Germany, you know, actually, how would a population believe that they're racially superior to the rest of Europe? I mean, would you fall for that shit? Would you fall for that shit?
Depends on how I was raised.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Because, you know, society for like thousands of years has been, our education has been, well, if you jump through hoop X, Y, and Z, then you're going to get reward, whatever, Z Ultra.
Get that college degree, you'll be set.
Yeah, and your masters will give you a good salary. And you can have a home and a family.
To be fair, it used to be true.
Oh, it's still the case.
Not necessarily.
Oh, geez, look at the price of education. Why is it becoming inaccessible to people? They don't want you at that level.
No. Maybe. But
it depends on context of that, because there are some universities and colleges that are just expensive because they have the ability to fleece you. Because the demand is there, they're able to raise the price and get away with it.
No,
so in some cases, it's not trying to keep people out. It's just trying to fleece those with money because they want money.
Well, the colleges have they're taking advantage of the situation, because actually the name of the college itself has become a hoop to jump through. If you jump through that hoop, damn, you're going to get that job.
And it's not just the colleges taking advantage of it either. It's the loan sharks. I mean, the loan financial institutions. Sorry. Can't call them loan sharks if they're doing it legally. What was I thinking? Fuck them.
It's like, going personally, but I mean, like this job I'm doing now, I'm just amazed as fuck that I've got this job because I went to the interview and everything. I have absolutely no education in computer sciences, but and I can do the job. My CV shows that I can do the job because I've done it for like since computers existed. So, but if I was going to go to any quote unquote normal employer and he would look at my CV and because you've got no education for this, you don't qualify. Even though I've done the job for so long. Do you see what I'm saying? If I was going to send in my CV, with the list of everybody else, I wouldn't have a chance in hell. Maybe things are a bit different in the U.S. I've been told that employers do give credibility to.
See, now you're talking about the employers, not the colleges.
No,
the employers
no,
are a whole nother turkey shoot.
No, I'm not. I don't see where you're going with that because I mean, I'm saying the colleges are a hoop to jump through. The hoop is on my CV. So if I've been to Harvard and the employer sees my CV that I've been to Harvard, my chances of being hired are pretty damn good. Whereas if you compare it to a CV like mine, where I've got, the education, but I don't have that, quote unquote, required hoop on my CV, if I don't have any, institution or education, then yeah, I'm going to be passed over.
And that depends on the company hiring.
Yeah, well.
And it may even just boil down to not so much the company, but the people working in the HR department's biases.
Oh yeah, who know shit about the job I'm doing. What basis do they have to judge whether I'm good or not at what I do? All they have is basically the the CV, whatever they see in black and white on the paper.
Yeah, as a fun piece about it, by the way, I did look it up really quickly. The tuition for Harvard Business School, this current 2020-2021 year, tuition just is $73,500. That's virtually unattainable for someone who is trying to put themselves through school by working.
Now here's my question. How much was it 20 years ago?
I'll do you one better.
Making comparisons, of course, for inflation and the like.
I'll do you one better. I pulled up the information for the State University of New York system to find out what their tuition is currently. Now, admittedly, this is for the bachelor's degree in state residence at SUNY colleges here in New York State. As an average, a little over $9,000 a year. Let's round it up and say it's 10, just for argument's sake for a second. Is it reasonable to say that someone would get 7 times the amount of knowledge at Harvard than they would at a state-run school?
No.
No. And how do they justify that?
Because they can.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. There's the
Because
rub.
they can.
And they can because we're complacent.
Not necessarily. The problem is not necessarily that we've become complacent, but
Well, I'm quote unquote we. You not.
No,
General.
there's a lot of bias against state schools versus Ivy League.
Agreed.
And I know that in my husband's case, that has been a huge black mark against him, which is not right or fair or just, but that's just the way that it is.
What do you mean?
He got his doctorates at Florida State University. And since it was Florida State, it's a school in the South, whenever he's applied for jobs in academia, it's been a black mark against him because he didn't go to, a school in the Northeast or an Ivy League or anything like that.
Mm.
So it's a lot harder for him in the job market because of that.
Jeez.
And Florida State is a good school. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a great school, but it's not Ivy League.
It should really come down to two questions. Did you earn your degree versus buy it through a paper mill?
Mm-hmm.
And is the institute accredited and certified? Bottom line, that's really what it should come down to.
But it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't always work that way. And I still cannot believe that someone with a paper from Harvard could get away with saying, I've got 7 times more knowledge than somebody that paid 7 times less for what I did. I just simply can't, I can't wrap my head around that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Just like Goodwill Hunting, when the lead character was making fun of a guy in a bar, saying, "Hey, look, I learned the same thing you did, and only better, and all I did was pay a few bucks in overdraft fees or late fees over at the local library."
Yeah.
And he did, rings around him intellectually in the fictional movie, and that's actually, people are capable of doing that. There are college texts in many of the libraries. Are they always the most up-to-date ones? Probably not. I guess what we also now have that we didn't have back then when that movie was popular. Yeah, that.
Eh? What?
We've got the accumulated knowledge of humanity at the palm of our hands.
Well, fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
It's indexed, it's searchable, and we can access it almost anywhere in the world. At almost a whim's notice.
And for a while there was a trend of free universities. I mean, you could follow university courses online. You wouldn't get the diploma, but there was that option there. I wonder if that's still a thing these days.
That's a good question. Maybe we follow up on that. We got to see about rolling up in just a couple of moments, but there was one last name that I wanted to drop in here for the whole. You don't need to have a diploma to show that you know your stuff, that you can teach yourself. Albert Einstein was learning by himself and did his work on his own outside of the college environment.
He was a patent clerk.
And he was teaching himself.
Yep.
And he completely remade the face of science as we know it.
And isn't it funny how, all these, how we're quoting Einstein as the holy grail of all that. All the people that quote Einstein as the definition of absolute genius, they just leave that fact out of it. Oh, did Einstein go to Harvard? Just, like I said, cognitive dissonance requires cognition.
And you know what? Come to think of it, I don't remember where he. Let's see. Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich.
It's a general. I know I'm not gonna say anything because I'm not sure.
Public Research University in Zurich.
Yeah, it seems to be. It's like the equivalent of public education. The Swiss version.
Yep.
If when people say, "Oh, you just go to a little community college and everything will be fine," you don't need the big schools. Point out Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman went to Cornell and Caltech, and he visited other places as well. He was a theoretical physicist. He worked on the atom bomb. I mean, he was a genius in his own right, an educated one. He was also somebody who had a very interesting way to look at life and things going on in life that kept his interest in trying to understand how things worked alive. And then he tried to share it with everybody, and he did a good job at that. He was a teacher. He did television shows.
He was funny.
He had humor, and he had the ability to tell stories too.
It's all on YouTube, man.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing is that he might have not got where he was without those college educations. You look at what Caltech costs now versus then, versus the average wages and and variances and everything else. When you look at those various universities and such, there's let's just say that current pay rates have not kept up with inflation. But imagine if anybody could have the accessibility that he had back then to those levels of universities, assuming they put the work in, though. You can't just have the money to go along with it. You had to be able to put in the work and get the grades. You had to find the things that you were good at and go for it. His was physics and theoretical work and literally creating new foundations and all that other fun stuff. Yours might be music. Yours might be somebody else's might be I don't know, botany. So you get the point. But the point, we don't have as many smart people as we should. And in this country, our system has been crippled in one way or another. Sometimes it's been crippled out of good intentions. Serious, like real good intentions, just implemented poorly. Or not following through on things. Or what feels like malicious intent. And then when it comes to reform, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, reform's is good." Well, how do we do it? Well, let's get the smart people together. Well, we don't want to get them together. They're expensive. That's what we need. We need to spend more on the infrastructure to correct the problems that we have. And the half of the country that's afraid of everything is afraid of that too. They're afraid of everything.
Different.
And Trump is trying to tell them, before and after his presidency, follow me. It'll be fine. You won't have to worry about change. It'll all go back to normal. Listen to God. It'll all be fine.
We'll take care of everything for you. Don't worry.
Just give us your money. And don't believe anything anybody else says, even if it's true.
And you'll get rewards.
Yeah. We gotta wrap things up kind of quickly. I'm gonna forego anything for myself other than to point out, by the way, Joseph, I did go looking it up, by the way. Harvard, $4,070 in 1970, adjusted for inflation today. $4,070 in 1970 would be worth about $27,500 today.
Okay.
The actual current is 70. So, yeah, outpacing inflation like crazy.
That's 800. That's almost 800%. 700 and yeah. And the cost of education with we don't have to print shit on paper anymore. It should be going down, no?
It seems like it's gone up where I work.
One would think.
Anyways.
Yeah.
That was the number one request when we started working from home. How do I get a printer? You don't. Well, I need to connect. Can I connect my home printer to my government system? No.
Oh, a printer! I hate tearing the sides with all the dots off.
What, you got a dot matrix in your house?
Don't start with me. Anyway,
Hey, that dot matrix served me well until I burned it out trying to print out a 300-page document. I literally let out the magic smoke.
fair enough. Because we gotta kind of move along fairly quickly. Joseph, was there any last item for you, really quickly?
Oh, I've said
Okay.
more than enough today.
Okay. Brigid?
Not anything. I was in chat with Stephanie, so I'm really terrible at multitasking.
That's all right. That's all
Yeah.
right. And
Just don't. Yeah, everybody ignore the haters. Education's a good thing, so go learn stuff.
true that.
Shit.
And
Mhm.
Tech, any last like 2-sentence kind of thing left over for you?
Wait, the show started? I thought we were just shooting the shit here.
I'm gonna hurt you.
We're live?
Now we're dead.
So with that, we're going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and got something to think about for the rest of the week, because it's going to be fucking cold for the rest of the week.
Yep, we
Yeah.
love you. Tip your waitress. Try the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and if you want to check out the polar vortex and all that cool stuff, we had a really cool link that I shared last week to what was it, Null School? Or Null School?
Oh yeah. I
Yes.
bookmarked that.
Yes, so did I.
Yeah.
It's it's weird.
Isn't it cool though?
It freaks my head out looking at it, but yeah.
Well,
Hey,
you can
hey,
even
can you
check
post that
like for
link
the
again?
precipitation amounts and things. It's really cool.
Yeah, I forgot to. Can you post that link again?
Yeah,
Gee.
it's just a nice little nifty toy. I know all the cool websites.
There is one little tiny PSA I do want to mention. For those of you who are experiencing the ice and the sleet and the rain and everything else, and you're staying off the roads because it's dangerous, please don't order delivery to your door. If it's not safe enough for you to go out, it's not safe enough for them to go out. Seriously. Sure, somebody else might be doing it, but you not doing it is one less time they have to be on the road. Please think of other people.
Yeah, true that. So, otherwise, as always, Stephanie, it's good to have you with us. Sorry you're almost alone, but thanks for hanging out with us. You take care of yourselves. Please stay safe out there.
Yeah, Steph. Nice having you.
Joseph, you have yourself a good rest of the week, I hope. Stay warm.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be from next week. It's gonna be pretty warm, by the looks of it.
Well, good luck.
You too, sir.
Appreciate it. Tech, you take care of yourself, and yeah, good luck not sliding away, you know?
Dude, I think I'm just going to spend the rest of my weekend in my room with the door locked.
Can't say I blame you. Take care of yourself, huh?
Yeah, you too.
Brigid, you too. Stay warm. Don't go anywhere if you don't have to. But hell, you knew that part.
Yeah. Yeah, I already knew that. It's gonna be really cold. It's gonna be snowy and yeah.
Yeah.
I have an electric blanket and 4 kitties. I should be good.
Not getting in the middle of this one. Anything you'd like to go ahead and say before we get at it?
No, I'm gonna play with this thing that I posted the link to, and
Yeah, well, I put the whatever. It's all fine.
yeah.
I'll make
If
sure it's in there.
anybody wants to see what we're talking about, just throw it in the show notes. It's really cool.
It'll be in there again. It'll be in there again. And since she's not going to go ahead and say it, I'll go ahead and I'll do it.
Fuck Mike Pence and fuck Trump and fuck you, most of all, Mitch McConnell, because you know what you did.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to do it the nice and easy way. for the vast majority of the Grand Q public,
Part. Yeah.
on behalf of all of us, fuck you!
Yeah, like all but 7 of you. Thank you to the 7 who did the right thing.
Yeah. But, you know, I'll just go ahead and I'll say it this way. You guys want to complain about the word fight? You went ahead and showed what it means. It's your box. You opened it. You're going to get to see what's inside of it. I sure as hell hope Pandora is on the other side.
Well, I know there are more than one, I'm going to say 3 right now, angry black women who are out for blood now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Stephanie, you're right. Did not get found innocent. They just did not get enough votes to put him out. We know. Believe me, we know, and we are all too well aware. And to say that Brigid and I had some choice words before we started the show, yeah. I didn't want to talk about the news, really, so we didn't. I was tempted to change tonight's topic. I didn't. I didn't want to. But we will see in the future what comes down the pike. We'll figure it out. If you'd like to find all of our contact information, you can get that over at holycrapthevlogcast.com, including, amongst other things, the download link for the voice version of the podcast. Dalan will get to eventually whenever he gets around to it. Phone number, if you'd like to leave a voicemail message, is 859-HCTV 554, 859-4288-554. I love seeing that number pop up on my phone, and go ahead and complain that, they hung up immediately. Aw. I love having spam come through that way. It's just so easy to get rid of it. Any case, again, those of you in North America, please be safe. Please be careful. The weather is not going to be nice for this week. Please be attentive. So, until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Happy birthday, Mr. Benny. And my lady, I got you. She knows what I did. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of us. Till the next time we get together, everyone. As always, good night.